Okay, guys, hi. This is chapter 7, and we are going to start looking at this idea of risk and uncertainty. There'll probably be 5 lectures here. This is kind of the introduction. So I actually think you can. There's a lot of theory here. It's in the next set of lectures we start looking at a bit of the calcs, but please go through this very quickly. You can breeze through it pretty quickly. It's just looking at some of the theory that might come up. So let's just quickly get through this. Right, so generally, if you like, the question is, what is risk? And all businesses sort of face risk, and they need to be aware. I guess all ventures, whatever it is, entail some level of risk. And because in the process of making decisions, there will also be variability of potential returns. So you could do something and get do really well. So you could buy one machine and make a lot of income from it. You can make another machine and get a lot of income from it. The question is, the risk associated with making more income will probably be higher, or whatever. It doesn't, whether you want to call it buying a machine or investing in certain stock or whatever, the risk is associated with return. So the higher the risk, if you like, the higher the return. Now, generally, again, think of like pension funds. They want to, yes, of course, they want to return, but they don't, they don't want so much risk that the return dies. So, all this needs to be taken into account when making decisions. How much risk are we willing to take on? Again, here we are. The simplest definition of risk is that it is the variability of possible returns. Right. So, if you're looking for some kind of, definition of risk, is this idea of the probability. So we tend to sort of know that, well, this could happen, but what's the probability of it happening? We're going to end up talking about expected values in a second, but the idea is we could get £100 if we do something, but what's the probability of it? And so if you like, that risk is that probability times the impact. Again, I've mentioned this idea of the number of possible outcomes, and we tend to know we have a probability of each outcome. We're going to talk about uncertainty in a second, but I've given this quick example. I've picked this from your book. I'm trying to stick to the book as possible for your own revision purposes, so you can sort of see what I'm talking about straight away. A company might have a 60% chance of finding oil and a 40% chance of not finding oil. It's just pretty straight that way. Now, uncertainty means that certainty is a situation where we just don't have those probabilities. We don't know. And this scenario here is uncertainty. It's new to us. We have no idea. We have no experience. It's an unexplored area. So we just don't know. So generally, of course, all organizations tend to want to reduce risk. So they go out there to sort of look for information about the people. I guess it's like all things. You wait for a job, they ask for your CV, they take references. They're trying to reduce the risk that they might pick up the wrong person. Same thing in business. We're trying to, if you like, get as close to perfect. We'll come back to this perfect information. We talked about this in the last set of lectures. Perfect information before we make a decision. Of course, the closer we are to perfect information, then we are eliminating risk. And so we have techniques such as, for example, market research. Trying to, going out there, testing a small sample. So we can have focus groups, bring a couple of people together, or just secondary research, read about this information from already established articles, like whatever in news, journals, look up the internet, look at social media. So look at material that's already prepared. But we could go out there and actually do some proper field research and carry out some surveys. I've already talked about focus groups, bringing a group of people together in an informal environment and asking them what they think about a particular subject. You see them sometimes in the stores asking you to, they might give you a free product and ask you to give them some feedback on it, or just ask you to taste the product in-house and ask you to fill out a form. Generally, your results are, again, the key point with all sampling is that the smaller the sample, the harder it is to infer or to make a general representation. Sometimes it's qualitative, and when I say qualitative, that means that it's all sort of in words, so to speak. We don't have the numbers. So we need numbers really to be able to sometimes infer things like the mean. I don't know if you remember this, the mean, the mode, the median, or whatever, and just look for the standard deviation and things like that. So all of this requires a certain degree of numerical data, and sometimes you get those issues. And like all things, do they give you the right answer? And sometimes the question of costs, a range of issues of general market research problems. All right, so secondary research, like I said, press articles, published accounts, census. So just trying to glean information from already existing information. And, sometimes it's quicker and cheaper than actually going out onto the field. But sometimes it might not be exactly what you want, and it may not be up to date or accurate. I've already talked about going out onto the field. Again, these are all very sort of along the same lines. You're trying to sort of understand why consumers are buying the product, and either interviewing people, that sort of thing. So the key point here is ultimately we are trying to reduce risk. That's really the situation here. These are all their examples. It's called triad testing, where people are asked which out of 3 given products. We sometimes see it on television. It really just, it's really what you want. The question is, you're just going out there and testing and asking people what their opinions are. Again, we talked about sample, giving people a survey to actually find out what they want. Okay, right, and we can also sometimes tell from loyalty cards. So the key point is that we have a range of ways of going out there to get information from people. These are different types of sampling methods or techniques, if you like. This is random sampling. So the idea is, even still within random sampling, you still sort of know the people you want to ask. So it might be a group of mothers, or regarding regarding nappies, or a group of parents, regarding nappies. So that's going to be your, if you like, your sample frame. So the population. And then from that population of people that you're interested in, you just pick. But the key point is that these people are all parents. So not random like absolutely anyone, but still trying to focus it on the people you're interested in. And this is when you're trying to make it fair. So look at this. This is also called stratified sampling. And let's sort of see what this is. So the issue really here is that if the target is 55% of women and 45% of men, well, you sort of structure your sample size to make sure you have a total of 110 women and 90 men, so that you don't have an imbalance. Same thing, I guess, whatever it is, if you want 50 men and 50 women, you would make sure that all your sample sizes from then on made sure they had an equal balance of men and women. Right, and so this is just other methods. You're just making sure you keep on the information. How do you go about getting this information? You could do by post, online, observation. So yeah, those are a couple of the ideas there. Okay, so when we have this issue of risk and uncertainty, what can we do to kind of, in terms of research methods, sort of deal with this? And there's this lovely thing called sensitivity analysis, and it's really known as the what if scenario. So it's really a case of, what if, it's almost like the idea of margin of safety, break even. What if sales fell by a certain amount? Would we still be breaking even? What if, would we buy it from outside? So it's pretty much finding the difference and then taking that away to see how low it would fall. Let's see an example, still from your book. We have this, we can basically, again, like I say, we can just keep taking off a certain percentage. For example, it may be that the estimated selling price can fall by 5% before the original decision to accept a project is reversed. So we can keep on gradually taking off bits off an original price to know whether or not, to what extent we can go before we take in or not take in a project. So here we have a nice little example. You can make a product in-house. It'll cost you £10 and you can sell it for 15. And you can here, buy it and rework it. So you buy it in and you buy it in for 6, and then you do some work on it for 8, and you're able to sell it for 14. So here we can see that we have a situation here where the contribution is 5, and here the contribution is 6. So, the question is, do we make it in? Right now we would buy it in because the contribution is more. But a simple question is, well, how low? What would have to happen for us to make it in-house? And pretty much 6 would have to fall to 5 for us to now make it in-house. So how would we sort of discuss that? We would simply say, well, for us to either be indifferent or for us to, it won't matter what we do, is, again, like I said, the contribution from outsourcing needs to fall to 5. But also the external purchase price only needs to increase by £1. Let me just go back here. So pretty much if this thing here increased by £1 to 7, well, I'll be at the same position, won't I? 2 plus 7 is 9. 14 minus 9 is 5. So the math way of speaking about that is, well, if the external purchase price only needs to increase by £1, which is £1 divided by 6 in terms of percentage language. So I'm saying, if it increases by £1 or if it increases by 17%, well, I probably would start thinking about making it in-house. And that's a very nice way to sort of make these simple, analyses. It's pretty straight. You can just sort of look at the particular thing you're looking for, and then reduce it or increase it, and then make a decision. Now, the final one, but remember, with this one, I can only do it with one item at a time. Again, look at some of the strengths. It's not complicated, and it can identify areas that are crucial to the success of the project. Now, simulations allow you to do change several variables. You probably need a computer for this. You will not be doing this in the exam. Will not be in the exam, but you should know that you can use simulations to put through the effect of more than one variable changing at the same time. So you're using random numbers to generate different possible scenarios. And you can see what a range would look like. And again, like I put here, a computer can sort of do this for us. Right. And I think again, of course, you need to be very, when I say you almost need someone to do this for you. It's not something anyone can just do. It's not for making a decision per se. It's just, at least you just know what all the possible outcomes are going to be. And again, like it's about time and costs, and sometimes they're difficult to formulate, so you really need to understand what's going on. Okay, this video is taking slightly longer than what I wanted. It's gone 12. You can see there what's going on over there. It's longer than what I want. So in the next video, we'll start looking at other methods of making decisions. Okay, great stuff. See you then.